my friends, glad to see you made it. We are gathered here today in the name of Jesus Christ. Glory be to God, He's alive. Today, my friends, I want to recap and kind of go back over step 1, 2, and 3. As you know, we don't want to rush through this and go too far. And although it's all recorded and it's wonderful to have that available to you, throughout any time, that's the thing. Don't think you have to sit through an hour-long message to get the message. You can go 10 minutes and come back a day later, 10 minutes. Chew it up as the best you can. Absorb what you can while you can. Think about it. Meditate over it. Try it and wonder and ask a question to yourself. Is this what I want? Am I okay with where I am? Am I okay with where I was? And is this what I want? Do I really want to be a part of a better life? And this better life doesn't have to come as a great miracle. It doesn't have to come and be provided by anybody else. Do I want to have a better life right where I'm at? And that comes through the restoration of our mind. Because really, it's inside of us, our mind, our feelings, our heart, our stuff has been broken, violated, right? So that's the thing where we learn faith, number 1. Number 2, we learn integrity. Number 3, we're gonna innocence and love. So we gotta come back to a love. And through all those steps, we find, we're kind of creating a boundary. So what does a boundary look like? What is a boundary? Football, we got, out of bounds, and we got in bounds, and we got lines but what's a boundary line? What does boundaries look like? Like in Nehemiah's day, they built these walls. What's boundaries look like? What are all these things, And so, through the building and construction of this, these steps, we use these tools. And that's what we're getting, and God gives us tools, gifts, abilities. And through that boundary, Paul describes it as a shield of faith. And the Bible says we have a shield of faith. We have a boundary, we have a spot where something can't come in. And this is like Nehemiah's wall. This is protection. So we got to create a boundary to protect ourselves, yet while still living in an agape love style way. And so what we got to do to create a boundary is know what one looks like. We got to know what it looks like. Does it look like the goal line at the NFL stadium? No. This is a spiritual boundary, and it's very strong. And that's where Jesus says, take courage, take courage, take courage. Let me strengthen you. Let me strengthen you. Let me strengthen you. Take courage, because it's in that moment when we're going to establish the boundary. The devil really likes to cross that boundary. Could be sometimes like today, let's say we had this bubble around us, and somebody comes along and they poke your bubble. You ever heard that term? I said, quit poking my bubble, get back, And that's a part of that boundary. So we got to establish it. And how do we establish a boundary? Well, we got to know who can cross the line and who can't. Who can come into the kingdom and who can't. Who can come into my house and who can't. Who can be my friend and who can't. And one of the things and why we find out when we come to Jesus, we lose all our friends. Because they were the ones violating our boundaries. And now when we supply a boundary line, they don't like that. They become agitated, upset, and then all of a sudden, they don't want nothing to do with it. Why do I have a black shirt on today? Well, because that's the thing with the devil. He knows God. He's seen God. He knows all about this stuff. But as Jesus says, you can put the suit on, be gentle, kind, and nice. Ain't that the perpetrator? The wolf in sheep's clothing. But inside is darkness. And if the inside is darkness, the only thing that's going to project out will be darkness. And perpetrators, abusers, people of this nature, they usually come in as gentle as a lamb. Gentle as a lamb. Oh, woe is me. I'm crippled, or I'm sick, or I have some disability, or something. Look at my problem. Oh, woe is me. And they kind of work on your love, because we all have love. So they want to take your love and focus it on their weakness, so that when the darkness comes out, you now feel ashamed to expose that darkness. See, darkness wants to stay in darkness. I want to stay in secret. Always in secret. Nobody molests their children or the neighbor right there in front of everybody on the couch. But a pedophile will try. And they do it by secret. And how they do it is because they don't have self-control. They have lost all self-control. So they do it right there in front of everybody under your nose. Now, they've played with your emotion, right? Woe is me, poor me, me, and sad me. Now they violate you a little bit, may touch you, may cross the line, or whatnot, and all of a sudden, the devil uses a tool. His tools are guilt and shame. I don't want to expose this poor guy in front of everybody. I feel bad for him. But that's the thing. Is when we're broke down and violated, it only takes one time, and especially as a child, once, to ruffle the feathers of everybody in the house and become the focus of attention. And through the rejection, the guilt, and the shame of that, they never want to put any other person in a spot of rejection or shame. So in other words, people who have been victims of abuse usually cannot say no. Their answer to everything is yes. Their answer to everything is yes. They're the person you can go to and, can I get a ride? And it could be a real monkey wrench in their day, but they can't say no. Yeah, I'll give you a ride. Yeah, can I have your very last soda pop in the refrigerator? Yeah. And you're dying of thirst and was like, man, I was saving that one for and you can't say no. You're always saying yes to everything. And I'm not just saying yes to abuse and stuff, but a boundary, the line is gone. So now I don't kind of have no boundary lines. None. And that way, I don't ruffle feathers. I'm not the focus of attention. And I don't need none of that. So we lose a boundary. The devil's going to use tools of his own. And he's going to use that guilt and shame. Now, later, the perpetrator may come in. I have a great example of how this works. We're church people. We love God. And I met this guy out at the park one time. And he was like a disabled guy. And he's got his big three-wheeler bicycle, big giant three-wheeler for adults, And he's 50-some years old. When he was 28 years old, he was in a car accident. Half of his body doesn't work. But he's pretty functional. He talks slow and that, but thinks quite clearly. Well, anyway, we meet him at the park, and hey, man, you want to come over and have some lunch or whatever? And then he comes over and tell him about God and that. Hey, man, would you like to watch the Broncos? Because, that's the thing. I'm just one of those guys who's a friend to the friendless. Yeah, I see you need a buddy. I'll be your buddy. I'm that guy who will walk up to you and say, hey, if nobody told you today, I will. I love you. And so we got to recognize there is love, but love is never rude. Never rude. And sometimes we are loving beings. I know my own heart that I am a loving being. I may have been violated. I may not understand Jesus Christ or God and any of this stuff, but I know my own heart. Right? And I'm a loving being. Well, in that, we got to be careful. We got to be careful because they're going to always use that against us. So, this guy comes in and we got the football game going and that, and out of the blue, because they have no self-control. I want you to know that these people always are, it doesn't matter who they are. They come in as sweet as a lamb, man. Eddie Haskell, you ever seen Eddie Haskell on Leave It to Beaver? I know, don't leave it to Beaver. Remember Eddie Haskell and how he's like, comes in and, oh, hi, Mrs. Cleaver, and everything's awesome. And I mean, A1, #1 model citizen. She walks out the door and pulls off, hey, what's going on? Let's go drink some beers or get in trouble. And he's causing all these problems. Right? Well, same type thing. This crippled guy comes in, he's in the house, we got the football game, we're all kind of sitting there, and Mom's a nice lady. I don't know if you've ever met Mama or Grandma Cecina, very nice, gentle, awesome person. But very wise and knowledgeable, and hey man, that's the thing with God, you never meet anybody on accident. I'll tell you, that's the truth. There's always something to be learned. Some people you meet because of a learning lesson. Other people you meet just to create a lifetime friendship. And everything happens for a reason. So anyway, Mom's in the kitchen, making nachos or whatever. I think it was coffee, making up a fresh pot of coffee. And so he comes and walks into the kitchen and, because he had no self-control, he decides, and we got Grandpa, we got me, we got all the family here. Hey, would you like to have sex with me? What? What? What's in there? What's going on? Uh-oh. We see you're possessed by a spirit, and it's a spirit of lust. That spirit of lust comes from watching porn all day long. Men, I'm telling you, you watch that, and what do you see inside porn? Men, and I don't care who you are, I know you've watched it. I know today with the technology today, men go to work, and there's nothing cooler than in the morning hanging out and say, hey, look what I found on the internet. And this stuff goes on. It goes on each and every day. And what do you see? Not a single boundary. None. You can violate me any way, shape, or form you can think of. And if I haven't thought of it, tell me and we'll do it. Not a boundary there. So you watch that and you watch that. And then you say, wow, you lose sight of any kind of boundary. You lose sight of any kind of control. You don't even know what a boundary is because you've been desensitized by no boundaries. No boundaries. Now, you come into a home and you have no self-control because you don't even know what a boundary is. I don't even know what a boundary is. All I know is I'm so lonely and desperate or whatever that I've lost all control over everything about my being and my life, and all I want is fulfill my desire. And the desire I have seen comes from a lawless place. A place with no boundaries. That's lawlessness. No boundaries. None. No laws, good or bad. Nothing. No boundaries. No way to violate, no way to hurt, because there's no boundaries. Right? And you think that you can come into another home and do that where there are boundaries. Now, in that, because they've already set you up to, I'm crippled, I come walking in the house and, oh, this poor guy. Well, I don't want to expose you, and this is how we create a boundary. Now listen, dark hates light. He wants to stay in the dark. Although the whole family's sitting there, he comes up real nonchalant and kind of talks to Grandma alone in the kitchen. Kind of isolated. I know it's simple, it's right here in your house. Well, I'm watching the Broncos, let's go! And I don't hear a damn word but the Broncos, because I love them. I love Broncos. Well, and back here, something's going on. Don't know. But because the devil now is spirit, and he comes in, he's going to use your guilt and shame. I don't want to expose this guy. I don't want to embarrass him. He's already, broke down and all this stuff, and problems. And, okay, no. I'm not going to cross that. I'm married, and hey, stop. Okay. Stop. Now, that's an okay boundary. But the devil's going to keep coming in. He's going to keep coming in. Jesus is tested 3 times. He comes in, kind of backs off. He comes in, and he kind of backs off. And then he comes in. Right? And at the 3rd time, it's finally like, get back, Satan! You worship the Lord your God. Now, how do we prevent 1, 2, 3, 4 times of coming in? Violating that boundary. We can stop this one time, and through that comes courage, power, and the endowment of Jesus, the Spirit of Christ. Right? This is the empowerment of the Word. When we can identify a spirit of lust coming in, it's not rude. Well, how much more rude could you be doing that? Okay, very rude. Very rude. There's no love, there's no God there. Book of Proverbs, go through chapters 3 and 4 and that, and we'll begin to see and identify where does that boundary look like? And how do we establish it? Jesus says, bring it into the light. Bring it into the light so that the deeds can be manifested in God's glory. In God's glory. In other words, if you want to really help the guy stop doing what he's doing, and you want to help yourself be protected, this is how you do it. Hey! What's going on? What? And everybody in the house goes, what? What happened? And I know, we say, well, I don't want to embarrass that guy. I didn't want to bring shame upon him. I didn't want rejection to come to him. But it's through that stern, strong acknowledgement of bad behavior that you want to be my friend. Never touch that line again. Ever. And how that is by brought into the light. Immediately. Immediately. And as it's brought into the light immediately, that guilt and shame is now not on you, the victim, but it is in them, the perpetrator. And through that, in the perpetrator, he is transformed to be helped. Because pretty soon it's just me and my porno. There's nothing left. And he's not hurting nobody. Because he knows. Now, I got so much fear of the Lord. Boy, if I do that again, people are going to make an uproar. They're going to prevent it. They're going to say something. And it's not say something there. It's loud. It's like stop. And not just stop. Everybody in the house knows. And I know that's very tough, and that's what Jesus gives us, is that sword and the authority to do that. Alright? We set a boundary. Not only do we set one, we know what one looks like. Alright? People come in my kingdom aren't rude. And I understand we are to turn our cheek to our neighbors. Somebody hits you on the face, turn your cheek, and all those things. And yes. Why? Because in that we're surrendered to God. Hey, I can't fix you, bud. I can establish a boundary that God has given me to shine the glory of God's light on this world. But if you have no self-control, I can't help you. This is the answer. Worship the Lord your God. Sayonara. Don't let the door hit you in the butt. I wipe the dust. I take my peace back. And I'll keep it here. But as for you, and until you change your behavior, until you are established with self-control. And I want you to know self-control comes all the way at like step 11, step 10 on the list, because that's what we are going to establish through our faith, through our integrity, through all these things. And the great news of it, these are gifts from heaven, from God to you. In other words, ask God and you shall receive. Believe that He will feed you exactly what you need to overcome any situation. Trust me, when the darkness comes in the light, it runs